Hey guys, what is going on? Carter here. Got another video for you. This is on another folder. I love folders. You know I love folders. I love tactical folders. If I could describe this channel in 2 words, it would be tactical folders. That is really my go-to #1 knife category. It's what got me excited about knives in the first place, and this knife fits right into that category like a glove. And it is quite a unique little puppy, little specimen right here. Really cool stuff. Now, once again, for Emerson fans, this is a breakthrough knife. For regular knife fans, this is old news. I know it's funny. It's very contradictory, but Cold Steel. Emerson fans are really divided on this knife. This is the first flipper Emerson has ever done. And it's not just that it's the first flipper, it's the fact that he's downright said he doesn't like flippers and he will never do a flipper. So to have this come out is pretty freaking crazy. Not only that, it has a bearing system. Now we've seen the bearing system in the Iron Dragon. I'm not sure which one came first. I'm thinking it was this one because it's actually necessary in this knife to make it function, whereas the Iron Dragon could have gotten away with regular washers. So let's get into the specs on this knife and take a look at it. This is a medium-sized knife coming from Emerson. It has a 3.5-inch blade, as you can see right there. Overall length is about 8.5 inches. So really that good kind of carry, everyday use, good for all types of things, sizes. Really, really nice. It has been quite the success from what I understand. People really, really like it, so much so that Emerson's going to do a flipper CQC7 and possibly some other flippers in the future. I guess once Emerson did this knife, he kind of changed his opinion on the flipper world. But before we get into that, let's take a look at what made this thing come to light. This is actually a collaboration piece with SDK&G. That stands for Sheepdog Knife and Gun. It is owned by Colonel David Grossman. Colonel David Grossman is a former military man. He has published a number of books on what he calls killology. Basically, it's understanding the subject of training killers, which is what the military does. It takes regular people, trains them to kill. It talks about how that's done, the ramifications of doing that, the psychology behind that, the whole world. So you can see why Emerson would be drawn to a guy like that. They share a lot of similar interests and things. So they got together and came up with this knife. And Mr. David Grossman, he wanted a flipper. And so Emerson obliged and gave him this knife. It is really, really cool, actually, all the features you get on this thing. You can open it by flipping, you can open it by the thumb disc, and of course it has the wave feature as well. So 3 different ways to deploy this knife, which I think is really, really cool. Overall, the quality on this is really nice. You can see how centered it is. It has the bearing system. You can see how that falls right there. And it flips like a dream. It flips so hard. And this is no play in this, guys. There is no play. It is rock solid all the way around, up, down, left, and right. You can see the lockup right there. Really, really good. Now, this did come with a really sticky lock, which I'd heard a lot of people had some problems with. But first, let's get some weight. Sorry, guys. I forgot about this. I saw my scale over there, and I'm like, did I get the weight on this thing? And then I realized, no, I didn't. Weight on this is 5.6 ounces. So it is a little heavier than some of the knives in this caliber. That's kind of what you get when you get into Emerson's. They're not super lightweight, but they are strong folders, and they have the really, really good design features you come to expect. Now this comes in both a clip point or Bowie style blade, as well as a drop point blade. I went with the Bowie because I like Bowie knives. I like the clip point shape. I just do. And I also went with the stonewash / satin finish, which is my favorite Emerson finish. Comes razor sharp out of the box like you'd expect. The finish on the blade is absolutely outstanding. You can see it doesn't have a year under the Emerson. That's kind of strange. Usually you can get the year that this thing is manufactured right under there, but this does not have that. I'm not sure why. Regular G10 scales, usual grippiness, titanium liners, like usual, standard Emerson clip. Not too deep, not too high carry, kind of what he's known for. Standoffs, you can see right there, 3 standoffs, which is his newer since 2013 style of putting knives together. The other thing with this knife that's a little bit different than his standard production knives is it comes out of the factory tapped for left-hand carry. Now I find that kind of interesting because his knives are ambidextrous by nature with the thumb disc opening, the wave opening, but they don't come tapped for left-hand carry. You have to actually pay extra to have them do that. So it's really cool that he did it on this model. Hopefully he carries that trend over in other models as well. I think that would be a great feature to offer his customers, his fans, and could help to promote the brand a little bit more, is adding those little flourishes. I mean, we're just talking a little bit of extra machine time. Not extra materials, not extra parts, just a little more machine time to make lefties out there more happy. And who doesn't want to make lefties more happy? I know I do. I know I really, really do. The ergonomics on this are outstanding, like you'd expect from Emerson. Really fits in the hand, really feels nice. Great purchase on this thing. It carries in the pocket wonderfully. The detent on this is perfect. I've heard some people complain about a super light detent. I don't have that problem. This thing flies open. The detent is done perfect. Well, okay. Let me watch my words there. Actually, I have a big problem with the detent, but it's not the strength. Now, I didn't mention this right off the bat. I was going to, but I forgot to. I do have a major issue with this knife that really, really bugs me, and I'd like to get your feedback on it if you have one of these, and that is, it is sloppy. Look how sloppy that is. Oh my gosh, that is really, really sloppy. I don't know what the deal is with the closed position detent on this thing. You can see how sloppy it is. And every time you go to deploy, you feel it like that give. You feel it move. And it's pretty common for knives to have a little bit of play, maybe like that. A little bit of movement. It's kind of hard to get everything so perfect that it's just locked down. Sometimes you get that, but a lot of the times you get a little bit of movement. This thing has a ridiculous amount of movement. You can see it's about a 1/4 inch possibly on that tip. I mean, that thing just moves like crazy. And I don't know if they did the detent hole too big, and that's the problem. I don't know if they just milled this part in there out a little bit too much, so it sits back too far. I'm not quite sure. I also don't know if it has something to do with the fact that it's a flipper that caused this issue. At first I thought it shouldn't. That the closed position detent should work the same as it does on any other Emerson knife. Shouldn't make a difference that it's a flipper. But the more I thought about it, maybe to increase the tension of that detent, maybe they oversized the hole in the blade so that the detent ball fully sat in that hole, so it would give that extra spring when you release the knife. And maybe rather than offsetting that hole, so that this probably isn't going to make any sense, but rather than offsetting that hole, like if this is the old hole, the detent ball, and I'm not trying to get sexual here, guys. This is the old hole, and here's the detent ball right there. Rather than making it larger and then offsetting it so it still hits that edge, they just made it larger so it just sits in there and it has play. Maybe that's what happened, I don't know. But that's why I want to hear from you guys. If you have this knife, do you have that same sloppy closed position, or is yours kind of more solid? Is it somewhere in between? I don't know. Let me know if you guys have that. It doesn't affect the functionality of the knife. It still flies open, it still cuts, still works perfect, but it is a pet peeve of mine. I really don't like that feeling, and it's especially apparent in flippers because you push on this to open it and you can feel it give, and it just feels sloppy. It doesn't feel tight. So that does bug me. But other than that, this is a really, really cool knife. It's kind of a monumentous occasion in terms of Emerson. We never thought we'd see a flipper knife. We never thought we'd see bearings, let alone in the same freaking knife. So that is super cool. I'm hoping that Emerson kind of continues this trend of taking feedback and implementing it in their knives. I think that would be really, really cool. He kind of, how I envision Emerson is he likes to hang back. He doesn't want to jump on trends that are going to disappear. He wants to make sure that these things are really, in fact, what his fans want and that they're going to stick around for a long time. So we must have seen, hey, this flipper thing, people still like them. They're not going anywhere. Bearings, they're not going anywhere. I'm going to implement these in my knives. At least that's how I kind of see Emerson's design process. He definitely doesn't want to jump on fly-by-night trends, produce a bunch of knives for what's hot right now, and then it fades away. He's kind of a traditionalist. He likes to establish his brand, and he likes to hold true to the decision he makes. So he doesn't do these decisions quickly, but he does do them critically. He looks at them from all angles before he implements them in his knife. So that's it, guys. Just a review on the Emerson Sheepdog, a really cool medium flipper coming from Emerson Knives. They're not overpriced, or let me rephrase that. They're not Overpriced more than any other Emerson knife. He doesn't charge anymore for the flipper or the bearings. It's the same price as any other new model coming from Emerson would be. So definitely worth checking out if you're interested. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, give me a comment. I'm out of here.